The cold dread started in my stomach, a familiar, icy serpent coiling in my gut. It was a feeling I hadn't had since I was a child, waking from a nightmare, disoriented and confused, trying to separate the shadows of the dream from the reality of my bedroom. But this was real. My hand, resting on the steering wheel, felt unnervingly light, naked. My wedding ring was gone, vanished from my finger. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. The simple, elegant gold band with the small, perfect diamond, the one Liam had slipped on my finger under a canopy of fairy lights just a year ago, was not there. Panic, raw and blinding, seized me. I pulled the car over to the side of the road, the rhythmic click of the hazard lights becoming the anxious soundtrack to my internal chaos. Before we dive into the frantic search and the shocking truth I uncovered, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. We're a new channel telling captivating stories every single day, and you won't want to miss what's next. My name is Clara. I'm 28, a graphic designer who works from a sun-drenched corner of our small apartment, and I have a love for all things vintage. Old books, worn leather chairs, and the crackle of a vinyl record. Liam, my husband, is my complete opposite. He's a software engineer, a man of logic and clean lines, who finds beauty in code and the elegant simplicity of a solved problem. Our worlds were different, but they fit together perfectly, just like our hands. His steady, my restless. The ring was more than gold and diamond. It was a symbol of that perfect fit. It was his grandmother's, a piece of his history that he'd entrusted to me. And I had lost it. I've lost it, I whispered into the empty car, the words tasting like ash. I began frantically tearing through my purse, dumping its contents onto the passenger seat. A chaotic mess of receipts, a half-eaten protein bar, several lipsticks, pens, old mints, no ring. I checked the cup holders, the glove compartment, the tiny crevice between the seat and the center console, jamming my fingers into the dust until I scraped my knuckles. Nothing fun. My mind raced, a frantic slideshow of the last 24 hours. Where had I been? What had I done? The day before had been a whirlwind, a morning meeting with a new client in a sleek downtown office, a rushed lunch with my best friend, Chloe, at our favorite noisy bistro, and then a quick stop at a garden center before heading home. I remembered talking with my hands a lot during the meeting. Could it have slipped off then? I pictured it skittering across the polished floor of the corporate boardroom, unnoticed, and my stomach clenched. I sat in the car for another 20 minutes, breathing deeply, trying to suppress the wave of hysteria. Logically, I heard Liam's voice in my head. Be logical, Clara. I started the car and drove home, but the feeling of dread didn't subside. It only deepened with every meter that brought me closer to the apartment where I would have to confess my terrible negligence. When Liam came home that evening, I was a wreck. He found me on my hands and knees, peering under the sofa, my hair a mess, my face streaked with dust and tears. The apartment, our usually tidy sanctuary, looked like it had been ransacked. The sofa cushions were on the floor, books were pulled from shelves, the contents of dresser drawers lay in heaps. Clara? Honey. What's wrong? He asked, his voice calm, which only amplified my own hysteria. It's gone, I sobbed, holding up my naked finger. The ring! It's gone! He didn't panic, Liam never panicked. He knelt, pulled me into his arms, and held me while I shook. We'll find it, he said, his voice a steady anchor in my storm. It's just an object, Clara. It can be replaced. It's not just an object, I pulled away, stung by his words. It's your grandmother's. It's our wedding. It's everything. His attempt to soothe me felt like a dismissal of my pain, proof that he didn't understand the depth of this loss. I know, he said softly, his expression softening. I just mean you are what's important. We'll retrace your steps. Logically. That was Liam. I was spiraling into an emotional abyss. He was already creating a mental spreadsheet. We spent the next hour going over my day, step by step. I called the restaurant where I'd met Chloe. The manager, weary but sympathetic, promised to check their lost and found and ask the staff. An hour later, she called back. Nothing. I emailed the client, my cheeks burning with shame as I described the ring, and asked if they could check the conference room. The reply came quickly, professional and cool. They would have the cleaning crew do a thorough search. Hope flickered, then died. The next morning, another email. Nothing. What about the garden center? Liam asked, making notes in a pad. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to remember. I bought a new fern. I remember paying. I had it on then. But did I? The memory was a blur, like a watercolor left in the rain. My mind was a traitor, refusing to give up the one crucial detail I needed. I remembered my hands being in the soil when I repotted the fern, but I couldn't for the life of me recall if I had taken the ring off beforehand. Days turned into a week. The initial panic subsided into a dull, constant ache in my chest. Every time I glanced at my hand, the absence of the ring was a fresh stab of guilt. It started to affect everything. I was distracted at work. My designs felt flat and uninspired. I became irritable with Liam, and a chasm was growing between us. He was trying to be supportive, but he couldn't understand the depth of my despair. To him, the problem was a lost item. To me, it was a catastrophic failure, a sign that I was careless with the most precious things in my life. The suspicion started as a low hum in the back of my mind. It was an ugly, insidious thought that I tried to... But it kept growing, feeding on my anxiety. Chloe, in her own well-meaning but dramatic way, was no help. Are you sure you lost it? She asked over coffee, her eyes wide. Rings don't just vanish, Clara. Especially not one that fits you perfectly. Who have you had in the apartment? Just the cleaner, Maria, but she's been with us for years. I trust her. Maria was a sweet, middle-aged woman with kind eyes and photos of her grandchildren in her wallet. She always left little chocolates on my pillow. Nobody is above temptation, Chloe said darkly, stirring her latte. A diamond ring? That could solve a lot of problems for someone. The seed was planted. I started watching Maria. I tracked her movements, scrutinizing her every action. I felt disgusting, a monster, but I couldn't help it. The paranoia had its claws in me. One day, I accidentally left a $20 bill on the counter, then obsessively checked on it through a security camera app I'd secretly installed. It was always there. When I came home, Maria would say, "Mrs. Clara, you left this on the counter. I put it under the vase so it wouldn't blow away." My suspicion only made me feel more guilty. Oh. What would you do in my situation? Would you have suspected people close to you, or would you have just accepted it was lost forever? Let me know in the comments below. The tension at home grew thick and suffocating. Liam found me checking Maria's cleaning cart one afternoon, rummaging through her rags and cleaning bottles. His disappointment was a physical blow. "Clara, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice tight with a frustration he could no longer hide. "I'm just checking," I stammered, my face flaming. "You're spying on a woman who has been nothing but kind to us. This has to stop. It's a ring. It's not worth this. It's not worth what it's doing to you, to us. You don't get it," I yelled, the words tearing from my throat. "It feels like I've lost a part of you, a part of us. And you act like I've just misplaced the TV remote." We stood in silence, the unspoken words hanging in the air between us. He thought I was being irrational. I thought he was being cold. The ring wasn't just a piece of metal anymore, it was a wedge, driving us apart. My paranoia then shifted to Liam's sister, Sarah. She had never warmed to me, always treating me with a polite but chilly distance. We had a family dinner a few days later, and the atmosphere was tense. Sarah kept glancing at my bare hand. "Still no luck finding your ring, Clara?" she asked, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. "You must be devastated," Liam told me how much it meant to the family. The implication was clear. I was the careless outsider who had lost a precious family heirloom. I mumbled something non-committal, my food tasting like cardboard. Later, I saw her whispering with her mother, both of them casting glances my way. My mind twisted their concerned looks into conspiratorial smirks. Did Sarah take it? Maybe she thought I didn't deserve it. Maybe she wanted to create a rift between me and Liam. The idea was insane, but in my state of mind it felt plausible. I imagined her slipping it off my finger during a hug at the last holiday, or even taking it from our apartment when she came to water the plants while we were on vacation a month ago. My mind had become my tormentor, creating scenarios each more painful than the last. The lowest point came a week later. I was sitting in my office, staring blankly at a design project that was due. My creativity was gone, replaced by a fog of anxiety. I felt defeated, hollowed out. I decided to give up. The ring was gone. I had to accept it, even if it felt like accepting a part of me was gone too. I had to try and fix the relationships I had strained with my own obsessive suspicion. If you're finding this story captivating, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We share stories like this every day, and your support means the world to us. As I sat there, stewing in my misery, my elbow knocked against the new fern I had bought from the garden center, the one I'd bought on that fateful day. It toppled over, spilling soil and roots all over my white rug. "Perfect," I muttered, my voice thick with self-pity. "Another mess to clean up." I knelt down, scooping the dark, damp earth back into the pot with my hands. And then, my fingers brushed against something hard and cold. My heart stopped. I dug frantically through the soil, my breath catching in my throat. And there it was, caked in dirt but unmistakable. My ring, the gold band, the small, perfect diamond winking at me from the mess. The relief was so immense, so overwhelming, that it brought me to my knees. I started laughing, a wild, unhinged sound that was half sob, half pure joy. It was here. It was safe. It had been here all along. And then, the memory, which had been locked away so tightly, came flooding back. The garden center. Getting home, wanting to repot the fern immediately into the prettier ceramic pot I had. I remembered with perfect clarity taking the ring off, my hands covered in soil, not wanting to get it dirty. I had placed it on the edge of my desk, right next to the pot, making a mental note to put it back on as soon as I washed my hands. But then the phone had rung. A long call with my mother, and after that Liam was home, and the evening had begun, and the mundane, forgettable moment of taking off my ring was completely erased, overwritten by the panic that followed. The betrayer wasn't Chloe's imagined thief. It wasn't Maria, our loyal cleaner. It wasn't Sarah, my sister-in-law. The betrayer was my own stressed-out, overloaded mind. The villain of the story was the simple, human act of forgetting. All the suspicion, the arguments with Liam, the guilt, the shame. It was all a fiction. I had spun around a tiny, misplaced object. I slipped the ring back on my finger. It felt heavier now, weighted with the knowledge of the chaos I had created. When Liam came home, I didn't just tell him I'd found it. I told him everything. I confessed my suspicions about Maria and Sarah, the depth of my paranoia. I cried, not with relief this time, but with shame for my lack of faith in the people around me, and in him. He listened, his expression unreadable, and when I was done, he just pulled me close. "Our minds can be our own worst enemies, Clara," he whispered into my hair. "The important thing is, you came back." The ring came back. "We're okay." The ring is more than just a symbol of our marriage now. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest mysteries aren't out in the world, but inside our own heads. It's a reminder of the destructive power of fear and the healing power of trust. It's a reminder to be kinder to myself and to have a little more faith in the people I love. Sometimes the most valuable things aren't lost, just temporarily misplaced, waiting in the dirt for us to find them again. Has your own mind ever played tricks on you, making you believe something that turned out to be completely wrong? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments. I'd love to read them.